Hey, what's up? This is Sifu Cuddle, and in this video, I want to talk about one of the most famous weapons in all Southern Kung Fu styles, and that is butterfly knives. So first off, let's talk about names. Now, the typical name that you'll hear is Wu Dip Do in Cantonese or Hu Die Do in Mandarin. And basically that translates to butterfly blades. Now, they do have some other names that they'll be called, like in the Wing Chun system, they're often referred to as Ba Jam Do, and that's like 8 cutting blades. I've also seen them referred to as Seung Nam Do, which is double southern blades. And even just called Seung Do is double blades. It really just depends on who's talking about it. So the names they vary, but really if you say butterfly knives, everybody knows exactly what you're talking about. Now, as I already mentioned, the butterfly knives are actually famous and used among all styles of Southern Kung Fu. However, it's gotten a lot of association with the Wing Chun system from movies like Prodigal Son, Young Chun, or the Wing Chun movie with Michelle Yeoh, or the Ip Man series. Most people see butterfly knives and think Wing Chun, but that's not the case because it goes across all Southern styles like Choy Li Fut Grandmaster, Lau Bun, Hong Bun, White Crane, and many other smaller styles. Now, there's really no standard design for butterfly knives. Some are more pointy, some are thinner blade, some are wider blade, and you'll find different variations in between. However, two of the main distinguishing things that you can see between blades is what they call a stabber or a chopper. So a chopper is going to be a thicker blade or a wider blade that has a lot more curve at the end here. It's going to be a heavier knife, so it's made more for chopping because you get more weight, more momentum to hack into your opponent. A stabber is going to be more of a thinner blade that tapers down very extreme and then has a very sharp tip, and like the name implies, it's made for stabbing. Now, this blade that I have, this set actually of blades that I have, are very unique in their design because it's not really the typical stabber and it's not really a typical chopper. So as you can see, it's pretty thin towards the guard, and then it comes out almost like it's going to be a chopper, and then it tapers in pretty sharp, pretty acutely to become more like a stabber. But at the end, it's really not that acute anymore. So you've got kind of a chopper, kind of a stabber with this one. Now, when it comes to butterfly knives, they are always carried in pairs. That's something that is 100% always has ever been. They've always been designed to be carried in pairs. Now, you may find a longer one, and if you see one that has a longer blade and it's a singular blade and it has the fully rounded handle, not like the half handle you see here, then that is probably a pai do, and that's for the tang pai, the big shield, the rattan shield. So usually you would have a longer sword with the shield, and then you would use that. But as a double weapon, they were always made to be sandwiched together like this, so that it wasn't necessarily so it would be, you could fake somebody as, oh, hey, I only have one knife, and then, psych, I have two. That's really not the point. It was more for convenience of carry. You could put these two together and then carry them in the same scabbard, which was really handy for carrying two weapons, and you could take out one if you need it or both if you needed. Now, the design itself is also very unique because it has this guard, this D-shaped guard that goes around the hand, and it also has this upward hook on the guard. So this is something you see more in Western sabers and Western swords, and because this is a more contemporary sword, it's not really an ancient weapon, it was probably influenced by European styles. However, it is still very unique to the Chinese martial arts to have something that's not really a full sword or like a full saber, but to have something that's longer than a dagger, shorter than a sword, and still gets the job done. And that's the unique thing about butterfly knives. Now, history-wise, there's really no specific date for the very first butterfly knife that was ever forged. But where it shows up in a lot of illustrations and newspaper prints and things like that is during the Qing dynasty. So there's written and drawn and illustrated record of these knives dating back to over 200 years ago. And as I mentioned, is probably the guard shape was based off of a European design during European trade and whatnot. Somebody may have gotten an idea to create a weapon like this, but it became very useful and very common between police, military, and then later on gangs. Now there's a really good in-depth history. It's on the blog Kung-Fu Tea, and I will leave a link in the description below. Take some time and read that because there's so much about butterfly knives, the Hudiedo or the Wudito, and a lot of good explanation, a lot of historical records. And he talked a lot with Peter Decker from Mandarin Mansion. So even if you're interested in getting a set of antique butterfly knives or other antique Chinese weapons, I would suggest going through his site because he really knows his stuff. He really finds some good weapons. The only thing is there's no guarantee of when he's going to have anything in stock. So it's best to just join his mailing list or just check his site from time to time. Now on the Choy Li Fut side, there's a lot of cool history, especially in the lineage that I'm a part of. So my Grandmaster's teacher, Lau Bun, was a very prominent figure in Chinatown, and he was known to carry a set of butterfly knives on him back when he was working as a strong arm for the local associations and later on just for self-defense. There's a lot of cool information about him in the blog Kung Fu Tea that I mentioned and I have in the link down below. And there is also a lot of great information about Lau Bun in the Charles Russo book Striking Distance, Bruce Lee and the Dawn of Martial Arts in America. Even though the main focus, the driving, I guess the constant theme that goes through the book is Bruce Lee, it talks about his interaction with the Chinatown masters and also what they were like. And this was very cool in this book because it mentions a lot about Lau Bun and how important he was to Chinatown at the time. And yeah, his interaction with Bruce Lee. Now, for me, I'm lucky because I know 2 butterfly knife sets. Because of the Plum Blossom Federation, Grandmaster Dokfai Wong has learned from Lau Bun, and so we know the Hong Xing butterfly knife set. But then he's also learned from Great Grandmaster Wong Gong, so we also have the Jiangmen butterfly knife set. So knowing these 2 sets is pretty cool, and I really can't say, which one would be more important because they both satisfy different needs, but they also do kind of overlap in a nice way. So rather than thinking learn one instead of the other, I would say learn both because they're both very unique, but they both complement each other with a lot of the techniques, and they have a good balance between chopping, stabbing, pressing, slicing, gouging, all of that stuff. And they both also have good sections for the reverse blade position. So I think that's really nice about that. Though I will say the Lau Bun form is like 3 times as long as the Wong Gong form. And there's a lot more flowering motions with the butterfly knives. So it gives it a nice variety with that as well. Now, if you're a serious student of the martial arts and you want to really develop your martial arts weapons training, I suggest that you actually have 2 pairs of butterfly knives for your training. One pair you should have as your everyday training, kind of beat 'em up. It doesn't matter if you accidentally hit something or the other knife, or you could use these to actually hit like a wooden striking post to learn more about how to use the energy and striking power in butterfly knives. And then you should have a heavier set of butterfly knives, something more like a real butterfly knife. Now, they don't have to be sharp. I do, sometimes I'll talk about using a live blade for really good in-depth training because it really puts you in the moment because you cannot make a mistake. But if you do have sharpened live blades, any off chance that you accidentally bump something or you accidentally hit something or you lose your focus for a second, it could have devastating results. So I really don't suggest that you have to go all out and get like a super sharp butterfly knife, but I do suggest that you get a heavier metal knife so you understand more about the feeling of the weapon. Because even though like these wooden ones or the plastic ones that you can get are really nice, they're portable, they're safe, you can hit things, you can do sparring and drills and things with them. They don't have that same weight that a real set of butterfly knives would have, and because of that, you kind of miss out on the proper execution of energy. So in the end, you know, you may not be going out to battle with butterfly knives, so it may not matter at all. But again, if you want to get a more in-depth part of your training, I do suggest that you have two types of butterfly knives. Now, as for me and my antiques, these are Qing Dynasty butterfly knives, so I never practice with these because I want to preserve the antiques. I have moved a little bit with them, and the weight is very unique to these ones, so it is important to have. But again, like I said, I'm not gonna go and damage these guys because they're a piece of history. When it comes to gripping the knives, it's pretty straightforward. You're just going to hold the knives here and make sure that your knuckles are protected within the guard. I try to keep my knuckles straight forward so they're underneath the guard. These knuckles right here are straight underneath the guard to match the blade, and that helps because it positions the handle in the back of my palm, not just against my thumb, so I have a lot more stability when I'm cutting and striking. There is some controversy or some disagreement between one particular hand position, that's pointing the finger. And I have learned both ways, that you can point the finger and you should not point the finger. And really it's up to you. Because one of the biggest arguments is, well, if you have your finger out, you know, people can cut it. Yes, that's true. But on the same argument, or to argue that if somebody's going to be this close enough to cut your finger, they're not very far from cutting your hand, and there's still nothing protecting it on this side. So either way you lose. So there's a chance there that it just really depends on how skilled you are and how you feel comfortable in using your butterfly knives. The benefit to having a pointed finger is in the stab. So if I'm going to stab with this, notice I really have to flex my wrist to get it to point forward, and it's a really uncomfortable position that way. If I point the finger, it stabs forward much easier. Now, in the end, they both get the job done. This one I would just do more of a scooping stab, or I just extend not as far. This gives me a little more reach when I point the finger, and it just has that more straight line for the look. So really, it just depends on what's comfortable for you, again, and whatever you've been taught. If your Sifu says, keep your fingers in, keep your fingers in. And even if you feel like you'd be more comfortable with the finger out, trust your Sifu, go with what they say, okay? But also don't be afraid to try it either way. You'd be surprised on which movements feel more comfortable and which ones don't go with that finger forward. Okay, so that's it. I hope you guys got a little bit of information about these butterfly knives, and I'll be releasing videos coming up where we're going to be going over techniques and movements with both the forward position, the reverse grip position, and you know, training and all of that. So if you guys have any questions, drop a comment down below. Otherwise, make sure to subscribe and check out that Kung-Fu Tea blog. It is super fascinating. If you guys have the time, it is a very long article, but it's very worth your while. Also, head over to Mandarin Mansion and check out Peter Decker and see what he's got over there. Maybe you can pick up a set of butterfly knives for yourself, or you can find another cool antique weapon. And check out my friend, the Scholar General. I'll leave a link to his YouTube down below. He has a lot of information about traditional weapons and how they were used, like the Paido, the long sword butterfly knife that was used with the Teng Pai, the rattan shield. So check out those. Again, links down in the description below, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Thanks so much.
Bam.